Right, very quick video on how to spray the ceiling in the room. Now, it's worth pointing out that I'm only a decorator, I am not an instructor. So if you have had slightly different advice from somebody from proper training, listen to them and not me. But for everybody else, this is how I spray a ceiling. First thing you need to do is choose an appropriate paint. I'm using the Dulux Trade spray mat here. This has around about 30% less overspray compared to Supermat, which is another contract mat. And as you can see, it's quite viscous. So what you want to do is put maybe 5 to 10% water in there and give it a whip up. That'll do for now. We'll work out when we start spraying whether we need to dilute it anymore, but I think that's probably about right. Here I've got is the Titan 460E. There's no point in me showing you in any great detail how to set this up, because if you've got a different machine, then yours will be slightly different. But I've basically put some lube in just to keep the piston running nice and free. I'm going to prime it up now, and I have changed the gun filter because it had been left for quite a while. This is the ceiling I am spraying. It's probably a medium-sized room. Some people will probably go, "Whoa, why are you bothering setting the sprayer up for a room this size?" But it is quicker, trust me. The only sheeting up I've done is the mantelpiece and fireplace, like I would do if I was using a brush and roller. There's some brown wood that is staying there, so I've taped that up, and I've taped the light up. Other than that, the only other sheeting I've done is on the floor. So the spray is all set up now, I'm ready to rock. One tip I can give you, it probably wouldn't make a difference if you're just spraying a room this size, but if you're going to use the sprayer for sort of prolonged periods and you're doing multiple rooms or whatever, first tip I can give you is put a little bit of water on the top of your paint. So what that's going to do is stop it from skimming over so that you can go for your break, and it's going to be absolutely fine. And the other thing, have a bucket of water in the room with you. Remove everything else, just have your sprayer, the paint, and a bucket of water. And anytime you're going to leave the room, if you're going for a brew or whatever, just put your gun in the water, and that will just stop the paint from drying on the tip and blocking it. Once everything's set up, you're going to want to test the spray pan. This is the safety on my gun, so sort of turn that off, and that is ready to paint now. Should really have a small lance or a quick shot type thing on the sprayer when you're doing the ceiling. However, I can't seem to find mine in the van. That's me being unorganised, but I do usually use one. When you're spraying, you do not want to press the trigger until your gun is moving. So you might do. The tip size here is a 517, which means it's quite a decent fan on it. There's a little bit of tailing, but hardly any. That is absolutely fine for when you are painting the ceiling. One more thing to address before we get masked up and start spraying is some people will go around the edge of the ceiling before they spray the middle bit. Other people don't, simply because when you are spraying down, you're actually getting the edge anyway. However, on this occasion, we have coving in place, and I can tell you that the edge that you might not get is just underneath the coving there, and especially in the corners. So if you weren't going to go around the edge with the sprayer first, you might miss those bits. What I tend to do is get the first coat on, and then on the second coat, I'll go around the edge, and that is just to make sure I get all the little bits. You just need to be a little bit careful. Obviously, you've done the main bit, you've got paint on there anyway, then you go over there, and then you do the middle bit again. So this bit is going to have 3 coats of paint on it, and it's going to be wet on wet. So you're actually applying another coat before the last one is dry. You just need to be a little bit careful that you don't have too much paint build up in one space. Been maybe 10 minutes since we sprayed the coat on the ceiling here. We've just waited basically so that the paint that's in the atmosphere sort of come away, so I can stand here without a mask on and talk to you. Couple of things just to explain. Firstly, as I was spraying, like I said before, you never press that trigger while your gun is still, because what will happen is you'll get a big build up of paint all in one place, and it'll just look patchy and horrible, and that's not what you want. So you're always moving your gun when you're pressing the trigger, And then as you're spraying as well, you're aiming for roughly 50% overlap from spray to spray. So it's something like that. And that way you get a nice even coat as you're going along. And the other thing that's quite important, like I say, there's a lot of decorators out there who are a lot silkier than me when it comes to spraying. But the other thing is I wasn't arching. So what arching is, basically, if you're standing in one spot, you're going from there to there. And what happens when you're doing that is you're putting thin coat there, and there's a load of overspray going into the atmosphere. Thick coat there when your gun is closest to the ceiling, and then a thin coat over there. And again, a lot of the spray is going into the atmosphere, so you don't need to be doing that either. Like I say, it's been about 10 minutes since we got this coat on, so we're going to throw another coat on now, and then that's us done. Couple more things to touch on. Number one, is it even worth getting the sprayer out just to do a little sealing like this? So obviously not every room's going to be like this. It's nice and clear. We stick the sheets down. It probably takes 15 minutes to set the sprayer up, 15 minutes to clean it out again when you're done. It takes maybe 10 minutes to put some plastic sheeting on a couple of extra bits before you start painting. Each coat probably takes 5 minutes and 10 minutes in between coats. Or you could even go wet on wet, call it an hour from sort of start to pack away. The thing worth mentioning, if you want better instruction than the cringy video that you have just watched, like I say, there's a lot of decorators who are a lot better at spraying than me. It's like any other skill in the decorating industry. It's like wallpapering. You get taught and then you need to go away and practice. And like I say, there are some decorators who are a lot better than me. It is worth checking out the Dulux Academy. You can do an introduction to spray course. It'll cost you a couple of £100. You might even get a little bit of change and you will get expert advice. And if you're looking at it and thinking, you know what, I can't afford a couple of grand for a spray setup anyway, you can always hire a sprayer to begin with from Airblast Eurospray Direct. It isn't that expensive. They'll give you all the advice you need about which kit you need for which job. They'll arrange delivery and pickup, so you've got absolutely no excuse. A decorator who sprays will generally earn more money than a decorator who doesn't.